Previously on my Payday 2 career, I finally got to tell you of my first Payday 2 experience, especially with the jewelry store and a few couple heists I play. Now some of them were fun in games, and some of course a little bit more buggy. Of course, especially some of the sub-mechanics looks kind of a bit broken, especially with the dominated guards that once you dominate them, you don't have to answer the pager. And you can also use jokers and stealth, but all that shit has been fixed. But also with the lack of content for the console versions on PS3 and Xbox 360, I was really getting disappointed with Overkill and starting to don't really trust them for making more updates or at least for the console version. But they went ahead and make an announcement that they're making the next gen of consoles for Payday 2 of PS4 and Xbox One. And of course they called this the Payday 2 Crimewave edition. And that's what I'll be covering up, guys, as your host, YinYangDragon, and I welcome you all to my continuation journey during my Payday 2 career. On June 16, 2015, this is where Payday 2 was released for me. Even though Payday 2 Crimewave Edition was already released 4 days earlier for the European countries, as for me that's in the North American region, I had to wait 4 days for it, which kinda sucks. But I'm very grateful to wait the patience out and finally get my hands on it. Now I expect everything to be quite the same compared to the PS3 version, but of course by the trailer they even show us the whole list of the DLCs. Well, actually the Payday 2 Crimewave Edition is essentially the Game of the Year of 2014. We include all the DLCs from that time period, including from the 2013 DLCs to the bit early 2015 content. So we got it from the armored transport heist all the way up to the bomb heist / dragon character pack. So a lot of the weapons that you see here are actually free, and they don't have that yellow tag like this is a DLC name item. For example, like the Scar H, which is usually a gauge weapon pack 1 item, or the Lion's Roar, which is basically the Dragon's character pack. We actually have these handful for free. Hell, even the FAMAS. So it's quite nice. But of course there are a few other DLCs with it as well, but I'll get to that point later. So it was starting to become big, and also with a lot more, only 8 playable characters with this time that we had at the launch of Crimewave Edition. Of course we get the 4 classic ones being Dallas, Wolf, Chains, and then we got our old boy Hoxton back, the British English Hoxton, and the newer Hoxton was rechanged his name to Houston. And then we have John Wick, Clover, and Dragon. Of course I played Dragon because it's almost a similar name, and plus he's quite very new to me, and I really like his dialogue, his lines. And of course at the time we had our perk decks and no longer tier skills, and this was also before we had the skill revamp system. So a lot of the shit was very big. And as for the heist itself, there are a lot of new ones to play. So of course I was really stoked on the new heists and the ones I wanted to play the most. There was Shadow Raid. There was like the Big Bank, Hotline Miami, Hoxton Breakout. It was all there from Election Day. All that good shit that I really wouldn't want to play back on the PS3. And then we had the highest difficulty at the time too, which was being Death Wish. Of course, the Death Wish was a lot more different compared to what we used to have. And as for, well, they also had additional more new trophies for me to go for the Platinum, which was a pretty interesting milestone, which is pretty crazy. So everything kind of 6 remained the same, and I had a lot of fun time. And this was great too because I just completely dropped the COD multiplayer, so I could play more with Payday 2. And then I noticed about a couple days, the game starting to get a little bit very stale because there's not even an update for like even over a year since the Crimewave edition's release. There were, you know, a lot of waiting and a lot of discussion of Overkill basically dropping the console versions again. Well, to my surprise, they finally announced our first ever update and also first DLC update as well. Of course, being the big score. And that included all the free and paid contents from 2015. So that was of course from the Butcher AK/Card mod pack all the way up to the Breakpoint heist. And that was quite a lot. They had a few more content, more new weapons, characters, perk decks. It was a pretty big update. And it got me to play a little bit more, and also got my buddy Dylan to play a little bit with me. And he did start to stream a little bit with me around, so I didn't mind it at all because at the time I was not really into much of YouTube until I actually got hooked up around August 2019. That's when I began. But for now, there are a few cases where I actually showed, or at least my voice been heard on another player's channel. So Dylan does stream quite a lot, on a few times on Payday 2, and even at a time where I'm low up to my infamy. So it was pretty fun to go for a round. And then, of course, by June 2017, basically about 2 years of the Payday 2 on the PS4 and Xbox One, we finally got more update with the DLCs, but I feel like it was only half of it, and mostly half throughout the 2016. Of course, this was included with the Sydney character pack, the biker heist, the goat sim, hardcore Henry, and of course the skill revamp, which is a big deal. And then we have a few months later, we had another update. Well, the second bundle name was called the Most Wanted bundle, which also included with Russ as well with the biker character pack. And then followed by November of 2017 with the Mastered Plan update. That's when we have basically our third and final DLC pack, because the Gauge Russian Rabbit pack was supposed to be the final Payday DLC for Payday 2, well, after the H3 character pack, meaning that all the other updates afterwards would be free. With so much money that Overkill was making from all these DLCs throughout the months, They figured they would give the community at least some free content for all their, for all their dedication and all that torture spending throughout the years. And most of the time I do play with pubs. I usually host a lot of games, and sometimes I may not be friends with most people I play that are randoms, but they're pretty much acquaintances with me, and I could definitely recognize their name by heart because they seem to join my game a lot. They probably see me as a actual good player, and also knowing that it's probably going to be an easy win for them, because I'm pretty sure when playing other difficulties, or at least playing with other randoms, it's not going to end well for them. So I do play a lot of pubs, but of course that was on overkill difficulty, because I just love to play with every weapon that is offered, try out every other perk deck, and just have fun with the game, and that's what's all that matters to me. But when it comes to doing a few of Death Wish, well, it's a very a challenge difficulty itself, especially with how the skills that we had back then are completely different compared to the skill revamp and everything else. And then there were a few little updates, but not much. There was like a huge weapon rebalance, but I did stop playing Payday 2 for like a month. Then I went back and they had a huge weapon rebalance update for consoles, especially with the buff LMGs, which is fucking nuts. So throughout my history of 2015 to 2018, which is roughly about 4 years now, or 3 years, I've been playing pubs quite a lot. And I do have a few friend requests from other people who do join my game, and we're just there to play game. But sometimes they do join, but it's not like a huge friend type. But I'm fairly fine with it. But until around the summer, I would say August 2018. Well, before I say that, and of course on the difficulty, I did play on the 1 down difficulty, which it was the highest difficulty name back then, just before we had death sentence. And I was really in for a brutal, but it should not come to any surprise because I have already experienced the overkill 145 plus with Payday heist, so I'm kind of prepared what to expect. But what I really think is the most stupidest thing on 1 down is the ridiculous large amount of health that the cops have. Even the weak cops are pretty strong enough. Like, it's just so stupid. And I really think for any game to have its higher difficulty to have higher health is not a good answer of a difficulty tweak. You can easily just modify that in numbers very easily. But before I talk about death sentence, I had to talk about a few, well, about a few things, but after I stopped talking about 1 down, and then finally I have completed all heists on 1 down at least, which was pretty freaking tough. I even show off my old build of my on a previous video of my death sentence build, which is the old 1 down build I had. And then I finally thought, it's over. What else is there for me to do? As a guy who didn't have his own YouTube and just mostly being under the radar, what other is there for me left? But already there's a new challenge awaits for me, and And this time, playing with pubs or going solo is not an option. And this is where I'd meet with other friends. But that is for another day.